What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the BlockHash podcast. Happy holidays as well. Today, another exciting episode. We have Alex Ryvkin, founder of Rho Labs, on to discuss how they are a decentralized crypto native interest rate derivatives market with a unique product lineup and maximum capital efficiency. Alex, welcome to the show, man. Excited to talk more about Rho Labs and what you guys are doing, and to cap off the end of this year and heading into next. How you doing, man?
I'm good. I'm good. Thanks for having me. Thanks for your time. Really appreciate the trust of yours and the audiences. I'll try not to let you
Likewise.
guys down.
Oh, you're good, man. I'm sure they would love to learn more about you as well, too. Do you want to tell us a bit about your background and how you kind of got into the Web3 industry? Everyone has an interesting story generally, and how that also kind of created some inspiration and led to Rho Labs eventually.
Sure thing. So, as a lot of people doing what we're trying to do or something adjacent to it in Web3, I started in TradFi. I started in equity sales trading, and then did a bunch of things on derivative structuring. uh, Creating sort of complex derivative-based solutions for a range of clients. So everybody from your kind of private banker or kind of medium-sized investor trying to find some interesting payouts out of options, futures, or commodities, even like anything, currencies. That's what we were creating up all the way to corporate treasuries. So super interesting, but TradFi, and at some point I got a little bit fed up with it and went on to run a couple of startups. The first one I launched was actually in 2016, 2017, and it was based around decentralization, disintermediation of finance. And that was right about time when we had the first sort of ICO hype, and we stayed away from it on the startup side at the time because it wasn't the right fit for the audience. But obviously, I got hooked. I caught the bug a little bit early in 2015, 2016, with a bunch of people who were exploring a lot of things that were happening on the Ethereum ecosystem. And my next project in 2018 was already very crypto focused. We were doing a crypto backed lending and a wallet, something similar to some of the other concepts that appeared later on. But I was based in London at the time, and we were doing it under the UK regulation. Fast forward a couple of years before I started Rho, I was chief product officer at Copper, which is one of the biggest institutional providers in the space, custody, clearing, prime brokerage, everything we were doing. I was lucky enough to join the firm when it was a 35 people outfit. And by the time I was leaving, it was around a 50 people outfit, and I was running product and engineering basically. So super rewarding, super fun, that hyper growth phase. And I'm trying to replicate the same now at Rho Labs that I started at the end of 22.
Awesome, man. And what is Rho Labs exactly? How would you sum it up for people? And what is the core mission that you guys are trying to accomplish? Like, I know that it has to do with derivatives markets, but what in particular about that?
I guess the biggest keyword would be rates, and rates is a kind of an asset class on its own. So there is a long phrase, interest rate derivatives, which is a bit of a word salad as well, but actually people call it just rates. People say I'm trading rates, right? And what that means that in traditional finance, anything is an asset, anything can be traded, and anything can be actually traded both for risk management purposes, for hedging, or for profit, for speculative profit, or for anything else. And rates is one of such asset classes, which is actually super important, right? Because in TradFi, everybody knows by now, whether you're running a $10 billion fund at PIMCO with bonds, right? Or you just have a mortgage. Fed comes out and says we're hiking or like dumping down rates by 0.25%, and suddenly that affects your livelihood somehow. So everybody's affected by rates. And people came up with these instruments which basically proxy the rates and allow people to either bet on the movements in rates or hedge against the movements in rates. And it became the biggest asset class in traditional finance, which nobody really knows about because most of the people who traded directly, actually traded on the exchange, are professionals. But nevertheless, when you buy that, for example, when you go to the bank and say, I want a fixed rate mortgage, I don't want like LIBOR plus, right? I want to know how many percent I'm going to be paying you for the next 20 years. You're actually buying an interest rate swap. You just never know it because the bank trades it for you, right? And that's a piece that has been missing in crypto for good reasons, because 5 years ago we barely had any rates at scale, right? The DeFi summer was not there yet, and that happened in 2020. And staking was not really a thing before Ethereum went proof of stake, and so on and so forth, right? So suddenly rates were not really, and we were still in that kind of 100x or nothing mode. And suddenly, fast forward 2024, even a little bit before that, we suddenly realized that some of the biggest trades in crypto, like perpetual future funding based trades, are all rate trades. We just don't think about them that way. Suddenly staking matters. Everybody cares. Where's your Ethereum and who gets the staking yield and so on and so forth. And what is this yield and how is it going to develop? And there's a bunch of other things that have been out there and it's going to grow. And that basically is a kind of a cornerstone component of the financial markets, which a lot of things, a lot of strategies don't work without. And also in crypto, there's a lot of other things. These are the fun things to trade. So while in traditional finance, often rates are something for people who care about kind of 20-year horizon changes in the rates, so there's a big corporates or funds. In crypto, it's not your dad's old good interest rate derivatives trading for highly specialized professionals. Suddenly, when you apply the same concepts, take the same instruments as we did, and apply them to something like perpetual future funding rate, which goes from like -5% to +75% over the past month. These are like the real numbers from Binance, let's say, right? Suddenly, you get something which is very interesting to trade, and that's what we're trying to create here. We're just trying to show that anything can be traded, and also create that sort of the missing piece of the puzzle of traditional finance that will allow people to execute a lot of new strategies and create a lot of new products. And that's what we're trying to do at Rho Labs.
Can you explain what comprises crypto native interest rate derivatives? Like, is that mainly focused on interest rates within the DeFi space within crypto, like with yields and APYs and staking, like more or less? And then how do you guys kind of make those tradable on Rho Protocol? Like, what does that kind of process look like, and how does it happen?
Sure thing. So the easiest way to distinguish a rate that can be traded on something like Rho is that percentage sign at the end, right? And that can apply to anything. It could be your staking yield. You're earning right now in Ethereum something around 3.5%. It could be your yield on Aave, right? Something like you deposit your USDC or you're borrowing something from Aave and you're paying or receiving a rate, whatever percentage is. If you're trading perps, which actually happens to be the biggest sort of rates ecosystem, is perp funding. Perpetual futures perps is the single biggest derivatives asset class in crypto, right? Like 90+% of the volume in all derivatives are perpetual futures. And every perpetual future has a funding rate attached. So if you're long a perp, you're paying funding to somebody who's short a perp, essentially. And that is a very volatile number. And that is the biggest rate trade in crypto is actually that funding based things like basis trades and stuff like that. So that also has a percentage in the end, right? So that is a rate. So what we do, we basically take that floating rate and we can let you fix it, right? And you can either pay or receive the fixed rate. If you're a lender, for example, then you're getting paid, so you receive the rate. And if you're a borrower, directly or indirectly, then you're going to be paying a rate and it's going to be floating, right? So we can fix it for you. So suddenly what do you get, right? You can either get rid of that fluctuation. So for example, if you bought yourself a perp, Bitcoin perpetual future, and you expect it to go up in value, right? But you're paying funding. And normally that funding is around 11% per annum, let's say on Binance, on the majority of the exchanges. When it spikes to 75%, if you imagine, for example, that it's going to sit there, that's your hurdle rate. So if your Bitcoin position went 75% up in terms of a Bitcoin price, right? But you paid 75% in funding, you're flat, you're at zero. That's not great. So you probably want to do something about it. So if you don't want that risk in your portfolio, you can use one of the instruments that we issue to get rid of it. Or if you actually happen to have a view and you think that the rate is going to go up, maybe not to 75%, but even if it's going to double, for example, over the next period of time, that's another use case for something that we're doing, right? You can agree with the market that you're going to be receiving that floating rate that will go up and paying the rate fixed at around about the today level. And you're going to make the difference, which opens up a lot of interesting opportunities. And that's just one of the examples of the things you can do. And that's the foundational block of a lot of strategies and a lot of trades that people are going to come up with. We know that for sure.
Awesome. And then I know with the perp trading, you guys have a feature called Rho rate futures. You also have fixed rate staking, probably some other features as well. Can you dive into some of those features on Rho Protocol and what some of those benefits are for users?
Yeah, absolutely. So foundational level of that is what we were just discussing, right? What I described is fixed for floating rate future or like any interest rate future. It could be funding rate future, staking rate future, or anything. It's essentially a future instrument. It's not different to your future on Bitcoin price. That is basically an agreement with the other party that at a given point in time in future, or just perpetually if it's a perpetual one, we gotta be settling some P&L, right? So if the price goes up, somebody owes someone something, or other way around. So it's similar, but the underlying now is not a Bitcoin price. What we're looking at is not a Bitcoin price, but funding rate for Bitcoin futures on Binance or something like that. Again, could be basically anything, which is the beauty of derivative products. Um, what you can do with it differs, and there are lots of use cases. So you can have what I described before is essentially trading perpetual futures without the funding rate risk. You can also make it into fixed rate staking. So if you have your staked Ethereum, for example, you're receiving that floating rate. If you look at what was, for example, 12, maybe 15 months ago, Ethereum was yielding around about 6.5%, 7%. Today it's yielding 3.5%. Again, if you're an Ethereum holder, maybe you're not happy with it, and maybe you want a fixed rate, kind of fixed income product based on your Ethereum stake. So you can stake your Ethereum and hedge the rate with us, and you will get the fixed rate staking suddenly. And we're looking at various types of integrations with the staking providers, with wallet providers to allow that out of the box. But actually, anybody can do it by directly trading on our platform. Can do it right away already today. It's been live for a while and it's available.
Are you guys working with any other service providers, any third parties, any use cases there integrating any of Rho's products?
We are integrating a bunch of stuff. We haven't announced anything officially yet. We are relatively young, so we launched our beta in the beginning of June, kind of very end of May, 29th of May, but you can say in the beginning of June. Last month it traded about $1.3 billion in notional, and we're quite happy with the development, and we're looking forward to actually going public, getting out to the beta and launching a bunch of things we're thinking of, including the point campaigns and a bunch of other things which are in the pipeline. And a lot of integrations have been ongoing. We've been working on them for a while, and well, unfortunately, we'll have to announce them in due course. I cannot talk about it right now. But as I said, there is staking side of things. So over there, you're talking your staking providers, your wallet providers, so anybody who offers you to stake your Ethereum, actually any other currencies as well, but Ethereum happens to be the one that generates most interest. Both on the institutional and retail side, right? So that is something we've been working on. There is also on the funding rates, there is also another angle. So some of the perp exchanges we've been exploring, offering trading of perpetual futures without the funding rate risk through integration with us, and a few other things on the infrastructure side, catering both to institutional, professional, and more retail audiences. We've been working a lot of things, and we'll start rolling them out in the beginning of the next year.
Okay. Any like tentative dates in the first quarter or second quarter of 2025, or is it kind of just stuff in the works as of right now?
We have a long roadmap, and we have something exciting for every quarter, and we try to kind of space it out both for our resource constraints perspective, because whatever we do, we want to do it properly. We don't want to do like 5 things badly at the same time. And there are lots of small improvements and new products coming out. Like right now, for example, in our current beta, you can trade, for example, on the funding side, you can trade rates on Binance and OKX. We already released Bybit on testnet. It's going on mainnet soon. We're also looking at Deribit and a bunch of other exchanges. And already, for example, on the Binance side of things, if you compare to kind of the proxy synthetic trades you can do on Binance itself, little Rho can offer similar trades with similar liquidity that Binance can offer, which is kind of funny. But that's just the nature of the product we're dealing with that hasn't existed in crypto before.
So another interesting question I want to ask you, and it pertains a lot to the Web3 space, and that is security. Trading in Web3 obviously has had its ups and downs over the past few years, to say the least. What steps have you guys taken to help ensure security on Rho Protocol for users and partners? And have you guys done any third-party audits, or what has that process kind of entailed?
Yeah. So that's always top of our mind, right? Because we're on chain. It's always a little bit risky because the technology is new. I'm coming from the custodial side myself, and I took the previous company through a bunch of audits and standardizations, including, like, for example, at Copper, we started the SOC 2 audit, which is probably the highest grade sort of level of enterprise security and process management that you can. We're a little bit too small on our side now with Rho to do the similar things, but the first thing we did before even releasing the beta, we went through the audit with one of the top auditors in the space, who's been working with the likes of 1inch and Lido and some of the others. So all the audits are in the open source, are open, available publicly on their website. We're gonna release an update to the current protocol, and we're gonna take it for another audit as well. Plus, we're preparing the bug bounty program that we wanna go live with at the same time when we get out to the beta. Because we think the security is a kind of it's a permanent concern, right? You cannot just go through the audit once and forget about it. You have to be out there offering people to essentially try and breach you and in a white hat manner and make sure that they come to you first before they try to exploit it in any other way. And we think this is like the best way to address it, to engage your community, to engage the great community of the developers we have in Web3, through the bug bounty program to do that. But there is also a bunch of other things that are going to happen on some of the institutional side components that we're building. There are integrations that we're running right now with some of the top institutional service providers that we also got to announce soon, and they have certain requirements from us. So we have to go through a little bit more security and process audit that you would normally expect from a Web3 kind of native DeFi company. And that's all going to come out soon enough.
Is it tradable today? Can users connect a wallet and trade on Rho if they wanted to right away? Or what phase are you guys kind of in and what's available at the moment?
So our current product is in private beta, which means you need to get whitelisted. The testnet is completely open. So if you want to trade on testnet, you join our community on Discord, get it yourself. We got a bot there who will issue you some testnet tokens, and you can go to app.ro.trading, switch to testnet. We're on Arbitrum, Arbitrum Sepolia, and you can start trading right away. If you want to try the product with real money, if you want to try it on mainnet, that's the product that has been also live since early June, and that traded over $1 billion in notional last month. But you will need a whitelist. You can also request a whitelist from our community on Discord. There are limited spots, though. I think we capped it right now at about 200 traders, and we're currently at the cap, but we occasionally reshuffle people who are not very active. So if you get in the queue right now, chances are, even before we get out to the private beta, you'll probably get a chance to try the product on the main nets as well.
That's a lot of volume too. Is there anything in particular that people are trading the most, you'd say, on Rho right now?
Funding rates by far. We were actually quite surprised. We came up with a funding rate product about a year and a half ago, right? It took us some time to build it out. And the answer to the question, what is the current rate of Bitcoin, right? Like, you know, in traditional finance and real economy, if you ask somebody, what's the current rate of US dollar? They will call out the treasury rate or something like that, the Fed rate. It's kind of clear. Same with like Euro, ECB, or, you know, GBP, Bank of England rate. There is no such entity in crypto, and the answer to the question, what is the current rate of Bitcoin, which is important to a lot of things that people do in finance, is not that straightforward. And we actually thought that based on the volume of trading and attention and what people actually use as a reference, that something like the perp funding rate on Binance is way more relevant than, for example, no disrespect, but lending rate on Aave at the time, right? Or something like that. Just sheer volume is vastly different. And we built the funding rate product. Nobody else did it before us. Nobody else tried to do it as an exchange like we're doing as far as we're concerned, to the best of our knowledge. And that has been by far the biggest volume generator. So there were some projects before that tried DeFi lending rates or exclusively staking rates and different types of products, different types of approaches that weren't as successful in terms of generating interest as the funding rate products. We think that is super interesting. And also we're thinking about a lot of things we can build on top of this market and offer to people to kind of help them understand what are the potential use cases and what can you do now that these products are available. And that's also a big part of what we're working on.
Interesting. What else are you guys looking to build on Rho Protocol? I'm sure you guys have a roadmap kind of lined out going into 2025. Anything exciting, new features, new types of tradable assets that you can put on there? I'm sure you guys have a lot of ideas and a lot of things in the pipeline.
We do. And there are lots of extensions of the current product lines that we're working on. I mentioned there are a couple of new, on every of the product lines I mentioned. So you got the funding, you got the staking, you got the lending, centralized, decentralized lending, all kinds of things. And we're going to release a bunch of products. We actually have a lot of things already built that we didn't launch yet, partially because it's a new asset class and we didn't want to kind of overwhelm the market with too many things at the same time, right? And now people are familiarizing themselves with the mechanics and with us, we feel more comfortable doing that. So there are going to be a lot of extensions on the existing product lines. And also we're working on a few other product families, right? So one thing we were particularly interested in, we were always very focused on sort of concentration of liquidity. So we don't want to create a lot of custom things which will not be very tradable. And now that we have this foundational layer, for example, on the funding and staking, we're thinking of strategies that we can either package as a vault or in some other way, which will make it very kind of digestible or easy to understand to Web3 native audience, that we're going to build ourselves and that we're going to also explore white labeling and offering to other people as distribution. And probably we're going to go in both directions. Because it's easy for us to show some things as a POC, but we think that the strength in Web3 is in partnerships and integrations and composability, and that's sort of what we're also focusing on. So we want to show the world what you can now do with the products that we're launching, and allow people to access it easily in that sort of DeFi native context. But we also want to find the right partners on the distribution side, integrations, front ends, a lot of things we're going to be working on over the next year.
Excellent. Do you have any educational resources out there for users that are, getting into rate trading and perp trading for the first time? Sometimes those things fly over their head the first time they hear about it, and they got to figure out how to grasp the concepts. But what do you guys have available to help kind of guide them along?
Yeah, we started doing some, like, obviously you can look at our documentation on our website or the app. We also started doing some YouTube videos, and we're going to do way more of those because we had very good feedbacks on the first one. So we basically started from talking about how to use the product and then switched into examples of the strategies. So for example, off the top of my head, last year we recorded kind of a before and after video on a particular trading idea that we published, and we traded it ourselves and made around about 20% in about 7 days. And we have the blog post on that, so we have our blog when we publish some of those ideas and explore different strategies. We do the same on YouTube on the videos, just showing how we can do it on our product. And what we also want to get into is showing how this product can be used in combination with some of the other trades. Like, for example, if you're trading perps on Binance, how could you use Rho? Or some of the other examples are the same. So we're going to do more of those. You can already subscribe to those channels and just get the updates. We also do periodic weekly market pulse, kind of our research piece on talking about how the markets develop, probably for more market focused players and people who do it for a living or just really curious about it. You can subscribe on our website and you will get a weekly pulse with the updates of everything that's happening in the rates ecosystem and our commentary and some of the trading ideas of the week and things like that. So we're very open, and that's what we're going to continuously do. And we think educational piece is super important because it's all relatively new for a lot of people.
Interesting. Do you guys work with any existing traders, kind of like share different strategies maybe that could be put together around perps, around trading rates as well? Traders that maybe could be followed or insights they could give. Like, I'm curious because that'd be like an interesting thing to like plug into like a newsletter or some of your YouTube videos, kind of give people a little bit of face-to-face familiarity.
Yeah, so we've been one of our investors is the trading firm based out of Europe called Keyrock, and they've been very close to us and very helpful in the beginning of our journey as a kind of a design partner. And we're definitely going to do some joint AMAs on ours and their Twitters, reach out to both communities, and talk about things that could be done. Maybe show some examples of what can be traded. We're also working on a couple of other partnerships. You'll hear about them in the middle of January. And that's going to be the same. We're actually, what we found is that it's on our beta you have some institutional and professional traders who've been really accepting of the product, but we also found that magical professional retail, sophisticated retail, which we actually know for sure now that exists in crypto. We have some retail users who on like day one started opening relatively big positions and took keen interest in the product, and we would love to do something with them as well. So we're not just limited to professional traders. We like talking directly to people who trade with their own money, so they're very engaged, they're really interested, they give us great product feedback, and we would love to do some joint exercises with some joint podcasts or joint videos with some of those traders and talk about how they use the product and how we can make it better.
And then I want to ask you about the general market too. In Web3, obviously, it's started to tick up over the last month or so. I think we're heading back into another bull cycle, so it should be a lot of fun in 2025. But I'm curious, working a lot with providing resources in trading for rates, for perps, and all these things, and some of these advanced different ways to access the market and these different products. If it gives you any different or interesting insight into the market as well, and maybe some different factors that might be causing it to move, or maybe some insight into how institutions are starting to look at the market. Like, curious if it just gives you a different perspective than most people when they look at spot.
Yeah, we definitely see the professionalization of market, which has been our big bet when we started, right? Because I actually filed for the registration. This is like the historical anecdote. I filed for the registration of the company a week before FTX. And we were still sort of at the peak of the cycle, and okay, it wasn't really the peak, but we were still up there, and a lot of people were still drinking their own Kool-Aid in a way. And the conversations about things like rate products or hedging they were not catching a lot of steam early on. We always had some people who were like, yes, absolutely. But a lot of times people were like, oh, this market will never get to that level of sophistication. Now there is no doubt. So you have all of that both on the crypto native side. So professional traders are more sophisticated, got smarter, got burned one more time, and got more professional. And a lot of TradFi firms are coming in. And even on the pure retail side, I think what people really care about where the yield is coming from, right? It's not back in the Terra Luna days when it's like 20%, don't worry about it. That doesn't work anymore. People get much smarter than that. People don't just buy random things for the sake of, without giving any even back of the envelope calculation kind of thought of what they gonna make out of it and what the risks are, which we think is great for all of us because the less people getting burned in crypto, the more people the more people we're going to onboard. We're still in the beginning of the journey, so we don't want these like stories of people losing, their houses overnight. And we definitely see that. And because we are in that more sophisticated side of the market, we see how the interest kind of grows over the past 2 years, and we also see how people are more open to new ideas now than they were, let's say, a year and a half ago. That's the sign of the bull market, right? So people are happy to try new stuff, but doing it in a way more sophisticated and calculated way than they did back in, say, 2021, which we feel is great.
Yeah, there definitely seems to be a lot more sophistication in the market. I think that's a good way to put it. Obviously, a lot more institutional and interest and involvement and firms getting involved. Have you guys considered looking at artificial intelligence at any point in time? I know like AI agents have also been getting really popular. Going off on a completely different tangent here, but thought I'd bring it up anyways because I see it getting integrated into a lot of different trading applications and solutions now into Web3. Curious if you guys have looked at maybe exploring that for perps potentially, or for rate trading or anything on Rho in the near future. It might be interesting angle.
See, my personal view on that is like, first of all, AI is probably the biggest technological advancement that we've seen for a while, right? But what we generative AI specifically. That said, specifically in trading, before we started talking about generative AI and like large language models, machine learning was kind of the forefront of what most sophisticated traders were doing for the past 20, 30 years, right? So it's not really news. In terms of, so there was like a front end and a back end. So on the back end, AI, machine learning has been there for a long time in finance. And there is no significant improvement right now that we have seen, right, with these large language models. Maybe it takes time. We'll probably see that, but the most profitable traders are still the same people who were the most profitable traders, 10 years ago. Now, on the front end side, there could be a lot of interesting ideas and a lot of on the user experience side, right? AI can really make it more interesting, can really make it easier to get into some of the more complex things. But for the time being, what we found still, again, a YouTube video recording of us doing a trade in the same way that the client would do the trade makes a lot of sense. I would love to see some applications of more sophisticated AI algorithms and applications to any of the trading interfaces. So far, I haven't seen any of the big exchanges doing that. And having raised money in the middle of 2023, where I was probably one of the 3 new DeFi projects that raised money, and at the same time, everybody was slapping AI on their presentation and raising way more than I could. We still kind of stayed away from just saying AI for the sake of AI, and I'm definitely open to integrating something as it comes up. Just so far, I haven't seen proper applications. I haven't seen something that would be really helpful to us or our users. We're keen.
Gotcha. And then in 2025, any events, conferences, engagements that you guys might be attending or you might be attending on behalf of Rho, anywhere people can maybe also meet up with you guys and chit chat and learn a bit more?
Yeah, 100%. We've been flying around for the past 2 years. So over the next 3 months, we're probably going to be in St. Maurice for CFC. Then we're probably going to be in Hong Kong for Consensus, and then we're probably going to be in Denver for ETH Denver. That's our Q1. Aside from some of the other smaller things, we're mainly based in Europe, between London and Portugal, but we basically have friends and partners everywhere, and we try to attend all the major industry events. We're definitely going to be there, Token 2049 Singapore, and the rest of the big events out there, Digital Asset Summit New York. So you got a good chance of bumping into us if you attend one of those events. But we're always talking about it on LinkedIn and Twitter, X, sorry. So just follow us and you will always know where to find us.
Awesome. Hopefully we can bump into each other as well. I plan on being at some of those as well. So maybe we'll cross paths.
Looking forward to it.
Where can people follow you guys, check out your guys' community? We'll put all the links in the description below for the episode, but what are you guys' handles where people go if they want to find you?
Sure. So you got the website at rho.trading. You can go directly to app.rho.trading if you want to check out the product outright. We are on X at Rho_XYZ. We are on LinkedIn. We are on Discord at Rho Protocol. You can find us anywhere. You can find all the links on our website, obviously. And if you want to chat, just ping me directly on LinkedIn or Twitter or on Discord. And very, very happy to chat about the product or collaboration or any feedback you got for us. We're very open.
Sounds great, man. Alex, thank you so much for taking the time to come on the show today. Learned a lot about Rho Labs. Love what you guys are doing in offering these interest rate derivative products to trade with perps and everything else that you guys are working on. Excited for 2025. Keep me updated. Let's do another episode in the near future.
Would love it. Thank you very much. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate the time.